Hi everybody, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I had a very busy week, so I didn't get week 47 done. So today we're doing 47 and 48, but I want to share with you some stuff I took with me on my vacation that I was glad I took, and some other things that I wished I had taken out of my emergency preparedness stuff. So stick with us. Once again, welcome. This is Vicki with the 411. We are on our 52-week emergency preparedness challenge, and we are doing week 47 and 48 today, leaving us 4 more weeks left in this year. I cannot believe we have come this far. Thank you to all of you who have subscribed. Stick with me. We're going to have some new stuff that we're going to talk about next year. But I hope all of you are feeling very more confident in your preparedness than you were on January when we started. So let's go with week 47 and 48. For our food, it says we want to do 20 pounds more of sugar and 5 more pounds of salt. Now, you remember those big bags I've had of sugar. It doesn't matter what you store them in. You can get airtight sealed containers. This holds 10 pounds or more, or 5 or more pounds of sugar. I use the bigger ones, and I can get about 12 to 15 pounds in one of those. Salt comes in these. Salt, if it goes hard, it's still good salt, so it doesn't matter, just as long as you store your salt out of dampness, put it in your Rubbermaid tubs of stuff that you've got, or something to keep the moisture out of it. It also says for week 48 is to get 2 cans of vegetable shortening. I don't use shortening much, and I know those big cans, my mom used to get the big cans of Crisco, and I know that will go rancid after a while if you don't use it. So since I don't use Crisco much, I buy my shortening in these little pound tubs, and it's Crisco, and then I can just open up one at a time, and I think until I open it, I'm pretty sure it's going to stay good until I open it and start using it. For our household items this week, it says do a 6-month supply of your vitamins. So just be aware of who's in your household that needs vitamins. I've got old lady vitamins for myself. My husband takes his senior men's multivitamins, and I have a hair vitamin. If you have children, be sure to get your vitamins. If you're pregnant, planning to get pregnant, store some prenatal vitamins, just whatever vitamins you might need to have on hand. Also, it says to add a sewing kit and some buttons. Now, I had to sew a button on a dress for my daughter last week because she didn't know how to sew a button on. And as somebody, I'm also not a professional seamstress, but I do sew, and it's very embarrassing that my daughter doesn't know how to sew a button on. So my task is to teach her to do that. But you all need to learn how to sew a button on. I'm surprised how many people, I've asked quite a few people over the last few weeks, and they're like, no, I've never sewn a button on. One of the easiest tasks that you can do in sewing, and could be one of the most important ones if you're down the road and you're in your emergency clothes and you lose a button. You might want to learn how to sew one back on. So that's for our household items. In our 72-hour kits, it says to get 4 packs of hand warmers. Now, most of our family went to Boone over the Thanksgiving holidays, and we went to Tweetsie. We went Friday night on the opening night of their Christmas decor and everything, and it was absolutely beautiful, but it was 17 degrees outside. Did we freeze? Yeah, a lot of us froze. Some had these, some didn't, and I wished I had packed a lot of these because we needed it. Also, on my trips to the mountain, I took my first aid kit because I noticed when I went to the cabin that we were staying with prior to going up there, it didn't have a first aid kit. So I took this in there, and there were several times that we needed a little Band-Aid for this, that, or the other. We still had one grandchild that had to go to the ER for stitches because the bandage that I have that would pull skin together and take the place of stitches didn't work right above the eyebrow because there was really no place for it to hold on to and pull the skin together. So poor little grandson had to go get some stitches. I also took my 72-hour emergency food bucket, and because we knew it was going to get cold. And in my bucket, not only do I have the pouches of food to do the meals, these type of meals that take just water, because I thought if we lost power, because the people we were getting the cabin from said that that's a very common thing up in Moon is to lose power. And the first night we were there, the wind was atrocious. I mean, the wind howled all night. And I thought, okay, if we lose power, I've got my handy dandy little water boiler thing that I can use the USB and plug it in and boil water. And I've got some of these. I can at least fix my family a warm meal if we lose power. Luckily, we didn't have to use that. Unfortunately, we did have to use some of this. Wished we had more of these, then we all would have been a little bit more comfortable. So you just never know what you're storing in your 72-hour survival kit or in your emergency preparedness. That is just good to take on a vacation. I was tickled to death that I had it and I was prepared. Okay, for our emergency money, just because we didn't have a video last week doesn't mean I hope you didn't not save your $30. So now you got to put $60 in there. What do I always say? It's better to keep up with it than to try to catch up later. So I hope you didn't get behind. Our family prep, we're going to talk about our scenario we had last week was the change of family, your family scenario. Did your supplies that you used last week, did that fit your family? Has anything changed this year that you might need to revamp some of your stuff in your emergency preparedness? What items maybe have your kids outgrown that you might need to change out? I can tell you one thing, the clothes that are in my bag are too big for me now, and I'm not complaining. I'd rather it be too big than too little. If someone new joined your household tomorrow, what would you need more of right away? Think about that. I mean, you don't know what scenarios might pop up, and you have to take someone's in. Did your inventory making process you do make you feel more prepared, or did it highlight some gaps that you might have? So if you haven't had a chance to kind of go through your inventory, always take a little time and do that. Okay, you know, once a quarter, go through your inventory, see what you've got. And this, what's one small affordable item that you can add this week to boost your readiness? Is it something like this that'll just heat you up some water? Is it more hand warmers? Maybe you need more than 4 packs. I don't know how big your family is, but think about, I wished I had extra socks with me the other night when I was up at Tweetsy. I had 2 pairs of gloves on, and I thought, man, if I had another pair of socks on, my feet would have been a lot warmer. Anyway, so there's a lot of scenarios in our life that we need to be prepared for. I didn't think going to Tweetsy was going to be one of them. So for the next 4 weeks, I want you to review some of these challenges that we were doing. We started off with earthquake and we were out of power. How were you living? How are you planning your day without power? We talked about water. If the water main breaks, do you have water? Civil unrest. If there's kind of protesting and stuff going on in your city, and I know up in Canada there's been the post office goes on strike, the teachers went on strike, the nurses are talking about going on strike. What about if we have wildfires? That is a possibility where I live, is wildfires. Early frost, we had some early frost, and how did we prepare our food? How did we store our food, process it? Then we talked about just a local pandemic where your hospitals and stuff aren't open to minor emergencies. That's where this came in handy. We had a few just minor things, and I really wished I could have saved that little grandson of mine from having to go to the ER. And then the one for this last week, our household changes. Just think about what's going to come up maybe in the next year that will cause a change in your household. So that's just another thing under the family prep that we need to work on. So I want you to pick a few of those scenarios and just maybe on paper, write it down and get it in your head. How are you going to handle these emergencies? And are you ready for them? And I hope you are. So then the last thing, our water, add $10, put in your future water thing. And I want you to start gathering up jars that you're not using. We know we've bought jars over this past year. If you haven't canned anything in them, I would just put some water in it, put a seal cap on it. You can use that little air pump sealer if you want to, and that'll just keep your jars full of water for a purpose until you need that jar for something else. When I used to can a lot, my pressure canner would hold 7 jars, 7-quart jars. And if I only had enough green beans or corn or something to do 6 jars, I always put a jar of water in there. So I have it canned. So it's almost like I would be able to pull that jar of water out for anybody that's using a CPAP machine, anything that had to have that pure, clean a wound. That kind of water is safe to do. What you're going to put in this stuff here is just drinking water, cooking water, cleaning water, but just store some water in some empty jars. Find you a shelf out in your garage that you can clear some stuff away and just put you some jars with your water on it and have it, because you never know when you might need water. All right. Thanks for watching. Again, this was week 47 and 48. I know it was a lot to throw out at you at once, but trying to catch up, stay caught up. We've got 4 more weeks of this. Again, this is Vicki with the 411, and I am so glad and appreciative of all of you that are following me and keeping me going. I'm definitely a much better person than I was in January. So thanks for watching. Again, this is Vicki with the 411. See you later.